What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into a Saturday morning edition of the Daily Juice Podcast. My name is Matt Perrault. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports Talk Matt. We're here every morning thanks to BetMGM on BettingPros.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports Talk Matt, or you can follow BettingPros on Twitter at BettingPros NFL. One quick update. We got way over 1,000. Thank you for all those reviews. That's awesome. I think we're at 1,100 now for reviews on Apple, and that's super exciting. If keep on leaving the reviews if you haven't done it yet and it's been like on your mind, like, oh, I gotta leave a review. Go ahead. We got that Shaquille O'Neal jersey coming up here. It's the 22nd of May. We're getting into the last week or so coming up for that. So yesterday was kind of a bad day. The Warriors was the biggest example of what I can give you for fading the public. And I was riding with the public. I knew it was going to be a public play. I did not know it was going to be 96% on the Warriors. That's a mistake. And then Ryan Hollins, the longtime NBA and now ESPN and NBA commentator, came on my radio show and picked Memphis, and I knew I was in trouble. And so I came back with a player prop thinking that Valanciunas was going to have a big night, and then he was in foul trouble all night. So we got that wrong. I had a personal play on the under, which I thought was the right side, and it was, except for overtime. So that game goes to overtime, and we lose that. So I lost 3 bets on that game. That stunk. But I was lucky, and I got the puck line for the Colorado, for the Avalanche. That was monster at plus 120. I really needed that to come in. And then we had the over 5 in the Predators game that goes to double overtime. Predators win that game. That blew up the parlay, but Memphis blew up the parlay too. So it was double whammy dead for the parlay. But so we had over 5 on that. They had 8 goals or 9 goals in that game, so we blew over on that one. So 2 half-unit wins or bets on half-unit. So like I think we got like 0.8 somewhere in that range of cashing. And I guess 1 because of the plus money for the Avalanche. But then we got the Warriors wrong, and we got the Valanciunas prop bet wrong for the 4 bet. So a 2-2 day, but technically I think we might end up being up on the podcast. So not great, but I think we won money, so I got to check all the math on that. I personally had a 1-2 night, but I haven't seen. I think I was flat on the night. I was pretty sure I was flat on the night, but overall, not a great Friday. But I've had much worse Fridays than what I had last night, so that's not incredibly bad. But credit Ja Morant, man. What a game! What a performance! What a comeback! I mean, for him to play as poorly as he did. And then the turnovers on the road were huge. And the turnovers against the Memphis Grizzlies at home were huge. And that Warrior roster, that's why I thought Steph was the MVP. I still think Steph's the MVP because that roster for the Warriors team is trash without Steph. Like, there's nobody on there. Like, what was Draymond doing at the end of regulation? Like, what was that? Just stop, take a 10-foot jump shot, win the game. Going and throwing the ball at the rim like you've forgotten how to shoot a basketball. That was a really weird play there. But Ja with a couple of huge moments, huge games. I love that kid's game. He's so energetic. He's so fun. But the happiest group right now, the happiest team in the NBA, the Utah Jazz. Utah is going to crush Memphis. I mean, they're going to destroy Memphis. They can stop everything Memphis does. I might pick Utah in a sweep. I may bet that. I don't think Memphis has a shot in hell to stay with the Utah Jazz. And I've got them to win the West. We've got that bet to win the West as well. So it's a perfect, for that bet, for them to get Memphis in the first round is a gift. That is beautiful. Curry would have been a problem, a real big problem for the Utah Jazz. Not going to be the case. The backcourt for Utah will neutralize Ja Morant. The front court with Rudy Gobert and company will neutralize Valanciunas. I mean, what are they going to do? Have Tillman come off the bench and shoot jump shots? Okay, good luck with that. Utah's going to roll Memphis, man. That's not even going to be a close to being a good series. But, hey, it's good for that bet for Utah to win the Western Conference, and we got it plus 355. So I'll take that. Let's roll with that for sure. Let's see what happens with the Utah Jazz in that series. But that's going to be a pretty easy one, I think, for them with the Memphis Grizzlies. So If you guys haven't used the BetMGM sign-up bonus for Juice 100, please do so. That's a $20 bet. Gets you $100 in free wagers when you sign up. Use Juice 100. Make that bet $20. Automatically win or lose on the bet, you win $100 in free wagers thanks to BetMGM. That's the best way to say thank you. The other way is going and buying a t-shirt or buying a hat and telling your friends about the Daily Juice and spreading the word about what we're doing. So buy a t-shirt. Go to fantasypros.com/shop. Buy a t-shirt, a hat, sweatshirt, whatever you want to buy, and help support us and keep us going here for the Daily Juice. Tell your friends about it and tell them how much fun you have listening to the Daily Juice each and every morning here off of BettingPros.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts across your podcast platforms. Okay, so here's where we are. I have an NBA play. I have a UFC play. I've got a hockey play. And then I've got a series bet that I'm going to give you as well in the NBA. So let's start with Boston and the Brooklyn Nets. This, again, is a system play. Brooklyn is favored by 8. The total I got was 228.5. It is rising. This is going to be a public bet. And I don't like that it's going to be a public bet, but I'm coming back because I'm just going to play my system here. The last 4 games for Boston have gone under. 3 of the last 6 games for the the Nets have gone either over or under, but this is not the full complementary team. When they've had their full team, they've done, against Cleveland, they went over by 6.5 points. It was 225.5. This is 228.5 from a total perspective, okay? At home, Brooklyn this year, 20-16 to the over. Boston on the road, 19-17 to the over. Boston, when they're on the road catching points, has been very profitable for us this year betting the over, okay? When they are catching points, when they are a dog, this is where we've come in and we have bet the over. If you look at the games against Brooklyn, the game on the 11th of March had a total of 232. That game barely went under by 2 points. They scored 230, so they came really close there. When Boston played Brooklyn at home, it went way under. It was 123.95, under by 11.5 points. And I'm looking for the third game. And then the third game also went under at 225.5 as well, at 12.5. So you go, Matt, like what are you doing? This is kind of interesting. You're betting the over here with well, here's the problem. Okay, 1, you get all 3 players back. 1, Brooklyn wants to flex here, wants to get out. And 2, Boston can't play defense to save their lives. No Jaylen Brown. Tatum's going to score a bunch of points, okay? And I may have a player prop. I think Tatum's a good play here, regardless of what his player prop is. I think Tatum's a good player prop, 31, 32, 33. He's going to have to go off and score a ton of points here if Boston's going to even stay with Brooklyn at all. But I think there's a good shot that Brooklyn hangs 130 points here on Boston. So I think it's like a 130 to 100 type of win. You might say, Matt, why don't you just lay the 8 points with Brooklyn? I'll personally do that. I'll have a personal play on it. I just like the over more because if Boston's going to win the game, they're not going to slow the tempo down and play defense. They just can't do that. They're going to have to just try to outscore, an incredible offense. And, good luck doing that. So this is a monster mismatch. I will have a personal play on Brooklyn laying 8 points, but officially for the podcast, we're going to go over 228.5 for Brooklyn and Boston here. Boston on the road, catching points, betting the over. I've done it all year. We're going to keep going here with the over for Boston and Brooklyn, very much like the Washington game a couple days ago where it was just like, come on, like you can't set an over high enough here for what this game might potentially look like. So that's one. The one play I'm going to give you for a quarter unit is one that comes from Ryan Hollins, who, as I said, was on my radio show yesterday, the former NBA player, and I asked him his opinion on Miami against Milwaukee. Now, Boston and Brooklyn, by the way, is an 8 p.m. Eastern time start on ABC, so the world will be watching that game. But Miami and Milwaukee start the day off at 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 o'clock Pacific time, so a morning start time for me. I'm not going to bet this game. I'm going to bet the series. And I'm going to bet the Miami Heat to knock out the Milwaukee Bucks. You might go, what? Look, this is Jimmy Butler. This is playoff Jimmy. And this is a team that, coming down the stretch, they basically played their way into this seed. They wanted to play Milwaukee. Why would that be? Why would they want to play Milwaukee? Well, they match up extremely well with Milwaukee. You can put Bam on Giannis. You've got a chance to get Jimmy Butler going. You got a chance to get Tyler Hero shooting a bunch of threes. I think Miami's a problem for Milwaukee, and I think it's worth, at plus 260, I think it's worth a quarter unit just to throw it on there and see if Miami can knock out the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going quarter unit, Miami to win the series and knock out the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't hate a play in game one. If you're taking Miami to win game one, that's not going to be an awful play. I may have a personal play on Miami on the money line on this because I do think there's a real chance that Miami winds up beating Milwaukee in game one. But for the podcast officially, we're going a quarter unit here for the Heat to beat the Bucks at plus 260. All right. So Nets, Celtics, half a unit over 228.5. And Heat to beat the Bucks at plus 260. Okay, let's go to hockey, and let's talk about where we are here for the Penguins and the Islanders. Here's the thing about this series that I have found to be really, really interesting. If this game is going to be, if the Islanders are going to win this game, they have to stop playing Pittsburgh Penguins hockey. In game one, they played Pittsburgh hockey. Game went over, and they lost. Game two, they played Islander hockey. The game went under, and the Islanders won. I'm going back to the well here and saying after what happened in the last game, the Islanders are going to play their brand of hockey at home, and they're going to stop playing this up-tempo style, which really makes no sense to me. The Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins, they play today at 3 o'clock Eastern time on NBC, on the big boy, okay? If you look at the way this series has gone so far, it's gone 4-3 over, 2-1, okay? 2-1 the under, and then 5-4 the win here for the Penguins. I know the Penguins won 2-1 in game two, but the Islanders were in that game much more than they were. Even when they won the game in game one, 4-3 in overtime, that was a crazy game that could have gone either way, and they were fortunate to win. They could be down 3-0, no sweat. I don't get what they're doing here, and I need goaltenders to play much better for the Islanders. And, I mean, whether it be Varlamov or Sorokin, either one of these guys have got to play better, but I'm going to bank on them playing better. And I'm going to bank on the Islanders going back to a Barry Trotz system where they don't go up-tempo and they play close to the vest, and this game goes under. I'm going to bet the under 5.5 at minus 135. A little expensive, but we're going to bet the under 5.5 for the Penguins and the Islanders on the Islanders to keep themselves alive and play a much better brand of hockey like they're typical of playing. Islanders under 5.5 is the one hockey play going for today. And I think they win, but I'm not positive they're going to win because they lost game two with a 2-1 fashion. They lost. So I'm a little concerned about that. The Penguins might be able to win the game 2-1. So rather than going ahead and coming in and just laying the Islanders minus 115 on the money line, I'll go ahead and take the under 5.5 for Pittsburgh and the New York Islanders. Okay, and I've got one play for you coming up here for UFC, and it's the headline fight between Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt. So I have all sorts of funny connections to these guys. Rob Font's from Boston. Okay, so I am obviously a fan. He's in the New England. They call it the New England, Mafia, and these are fighters who are trying to put, mass in New England on the map, and there are a bunch of fighters that are all trying, Calvin Kattar and whatnot, are all trying to show everybody what, how tough it is to, whatever, Haverhill, which is the town next to where I grew up, in Lowell, where Mickey Ward is from, is all around my ritzy little, white-collar town of Andover, Massachusetts. But Rob Font is, I hate to say this, he's getting a showcase fight, and I love Cody Garbrandt. The first UFC fighter I interviewed in person when I moved to Vegas was Cody Garbrandt, and his career has gone into skyrocketed. But Rob Font at minus 115 is a little weird, and I think it's because people don't know about Rob Font. They don't know how good this guy is and what he has done. His stats are pretty amazing. He's won 3 fights in a row. I know, coming off of one win for Cody Garbrandt, but this guy has been open about his battle with COVID-19. This is his first fight since COVID-19, and I think, in the middle, second round, around there, I think that kind of comes into play here. I hate to say someone's COVID diagnosis, decides whether or not they're going to win a fight or not, but I think the gas tank matters. I think it's going to be tough. I'm concerned about Cody Garbrandt in this. I think Rob Font probably knocks out Cody Garbrandt, but I don't need to bet that because I can just go ahead and take him at minus 115 on the money line just to win. I don't need to go to where we are here. And, I mean, Cody Garbrandt's a long way from where he was, when he beat Dominic Cruz in 2016 and he got the belt. He's had a lot of really tough things happen, and he's gotten married, he got divorced, or I guess he's separated from his wife, one of the two, had a kid, has had some problems in that regard. It's tough for me. And Rob Font's 33, and he's super hungry. He's trying to make some noise. It's a headline fight for him. He has a big reach advantage in this fight. 71 inches to 65 inches. That's not normal for Cody Garbrandt. Cody normally is the better boxer. He's normally the guy who's going to strike first. He's got incredible hands, incredible speed, great knockout power. I just think he's going up against a guy who's on the rise versus Cody is kind of on the other side. I feel like Cody's on the back nine of his career, and even though he's younger by 3-4 years than Rob Font, I think Rob's got a lot going for him. I think the win over Pettis was gigantic. He's got a chance. If he knocks out Cody Garbrandt and does it in spectacular fashion, he's going to be in line potentially for a title fight at some point in the bantamweight division. So it's a big moment for Rob Font. This is a big showcase fight for him. I'm going to take Rob Font to win, just laying the minus 115 here against Cody Garbrandt. I think the public is all on Cody because they know the name. They don't know Rob Font. I think it's a bit of a trap. I think the books are setting a bit of a trap here, and I think it's Rob Font winning probably by knockout, but maybe on the cards. Cody's a pretty durable dude, although he has been knocked out quite a bit. So, I mean, the losses to Dillashaw, the losses to Munoz, I mean, his chin's been a little bit suspect in post-COVID. I don't hate it. If you tell me, Matt, I took Rob Font to win and Rob Font by knockout, depending on how my day goes, my day's going really well and I have a bunch of wins, I'll probably come back with a personal play on Rob Font via knockout, but I'll just take the minus 115 in the victory for Rob Font here in the main event of UFC Fight Night coming up here in Vegas at the Apex. Okay, so our 4 plays for today. Boston and the Nets. Boston, Brooklyn over 228.5. The Miami Heat to beat the Bucks in their series at plus 260. Rob Font on the money line at minus 115 and the under 5.5 for the Islanders at minus 135 against the Penguins. Somebody asked me to explain what I'm going to do for the Colorado Avalanche and the fact that we bet for them to sweep the St. Louis Blues, and they're up 3-0. So we've got a plus 400 or so and a 385 bet going into the sweep, and I'll explain that tomorrow. Okay, but basically I will bet St. Louis enough to guarantee a profit on the money line for Game 4. So I'll probably get like plus 140, plus 130, somewhere in that range. I will make a wager that will guarantee me a profit, and then if the Avalanche win and sweep, we get even a bigger profit, but I'll guarantee myself a comeback profit in case St. Louis finds a way to keep themselves alive. So that bet's coming tomorrow because Game 4 is on Sunday, not here on Saturday. My name is Matt Perrault. Follow me on Twitter at SportsTalkMatt. Every single morning, it's the Daily Juice Podcast right here on BettingPros.com, brought to you by BetMGM.